counter.
I've got another feeling.
It feels very
Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinion on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hello.
Hello, and Gonzalo.
Hey,
Hello, how you guys doing?
I'm pretty good.
Oh yeah, loving the weather
Pretty good.
today. The darkness and the
Loving the
depression.
weather, the darkness, yes.
It's gonna be so
This
hard.
is
It's gonna
now
be so
Unwanted Opinions After Dark.
hard. After dark.
This, around this time of year, 'cause it's always in the dark.
Oh, Lewis, the thumbnail. Let's do it.
Oh, the
After dark.
thumbnail,
Yeah, yeah.
Could be me in a dressing gown and whatnot, anyway.
Yeah, we gotta get you one of those Hugh
Um,
Hefner style ones.
Oh yeah, with a nice fireplace in the background.
yeah,
You know, I've
there
got
you
my
go.
mustache. It's November. You know, it's all
You can
good.
get a ambiguous drink.
It's November all year round for me.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. But look, in traditional fashion, I think I'm just going to keep this up now.
Yeah.
Last week I told you we're going to be doing Ridley Scott
Yes.
this week, but I got my dates mixed up, and that will be next week's episode. So if you're looking forward to that, we'll have a review for Anatomy of a Fall next week and our favourite Ridley Scott films. But on today's shorter episode, we're going to be talking about The Marvels. Kyle has seen the latest MCU flick, and we'll have a
Yes.
review for that.
Yes.
And I will have a review for this latest Nicolas Cage comedy drama, a little bit of a horror dream scenario. So that will be
Ooh.
on today's little mini episode.
See?
And Gonzalo's here.
I'm here.
Just to have fun.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm
he's
here.
all about.
Exactly. I mean,
And I'm also
I was
here.
gonna say, that's
honestly-
the most IT code reference I've seen.
honestly,
And I'm
guys,
also here.
that's kind of the point of like a successful podcast is for everyone to like every character to start having their gimmicks. Like Lewis's
Yeah.
is that they get their schedule wrong all the time. I don't watch movies, and Kyle's
Perfect.
just fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
so-
nothing. Kyle's just he's just the gem here.
I'm glad we can all agree on that. Because Lewis was nodding, I'm going to just point out visually. Just
Yeah.
'cause he audibly didn't say
I
it.
was.
But anyway, should I start?
Look, it's not my fault. Release schedules are always shifting and changing. I had a big, nice,
That's true,
airtight
that's
plan.
true. We've had
and
a
then it
couple
all got
of-
ruined
Do you know
because
what?
of Warner
Lewis
Brothers
is,
and strikes.
Lewis is
okay?
right. He is blaming the actress for wanting their fair pair and rights. I completely understand Lewis, and that's your bone to
Yeah.
pick
I
with
am-
this
I'm-
As the
I'm Team
CEO
Warner
of a
Brothers.
multi-billion-dollar company, I agree. The workers are treated way too well. You know, like honestly, nobody ever thinks about the shareholders in these
Lewis
situations.
is like,
No,
Lewis is like
they
they
don't.
didn't think about me on those picket lines and my release
No, they didn't.
and
They
my
didn't.
schedule.
I am Team Warner Bros. I'm glad they moved Dune Part 2, and I'm glad they cancelled that Acme versus Coyote film. You know, I'm glad that these things happened. But look, let's get on.
I believe it's Coyote versus
Kyle.
Acne. Not to push you, but you know.
Oh, sorry,
get
sorry,
it,
I got
get
it
it
wrong.
right.
Oh,
If you're
wow.
going to disrespect, I mean,
Sorry,
Oh
yeah.
wow! Why are
But yeah.
these things
Shit.
happening?
We might see it one day.
We
But, right, Kyle, let's get into the Marvels.
Yes.
Yeah, so The Marvels is the newest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it's like the 33rd film or something like that.
Jesus.
And it is
Yeah.
the third
Wow.
film in Phase 5, I want to say. And
One of the things.
I don't
Face,
know.
let's try keep this boat rolling. I think that's what it's
Phase,
called.
please continue to
Please
stress.
come watch the movie.
But right,
Yeah.
I'll break down. So it's directed by Nina DaCosta, who is of the new Candyman fame from 2021,
2021, yeah.
which I personally loved. Which
I
did
liked it. I really
before
liked that
this,
film as
yeah.
well.
It's starring Brie Larson, Tiona Paris, Amin Vellani, Zawe Aston, and Samuel Jackson. Okay, I'll give you a quickly breakdown of what the plot of this film is. So, after the events of the first Captain Marvel,
Yes.
Brie Larson goes back to the Supreme Intelligence on the planet Hala, I think, which was the Kree
one with the
homeworld.
Kree. Yeah, the blue
and
people.
basically, what you find out is she kind of fucks shit up, destroys the Supreme Intelligence, which leads the planet into a civil war because they've been very much controlled by this artificial intelligence their entire lives. They don't know what to do. Goes into a civil war, basically destroying the planet. And
wow.
we're 20 odd years or however long it's been into the future, and the villain, which is Zawe Aston's Darben, I think. I think she was the villain.
Marvel
is
name, yes.
It's basically a Kree warrior that's wanting to take revenge on Carol Danvers and rehabilitate her planet, basically. And in doing so, there's some quantum entanglement that links Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel, and they go on a wee road trip adventure. Okay, that's the kind of basic plot. And I'm going to say, I had quite a bit of fun with this film. Right?
Oh, wow.
I'm just going to say that right now. I did not have any faith in this movie at all, to be honest. I was a bit concerned that I didn't think they had enough faith in the Captain Marvel character, because it was originally Captain Marvel 2, it then changed to the Marvels, and I was a bit kind of worried how much how much kind of stuff's been chucked around. But I have to say, the three kind of core members of the Marvels are an absolute blast. They bring so much kind of fun enjoyment to each other, while actually giving each of them quite good character development over this short, 105 minutes,
shortest MCU film to date, right?
Wow. And you really feel it, because you really kind of go, there's not much kind of lag here. Maybe a wee bit at times, but you kind of felt the ball rolling. But we get really good character development for Carol Danvers, which kind of explains why she was never on Earth for the entire time, which kind of, I feel you could worry that sometimes that's forced on the characters because Marvel has to explain absences. It kind of works. Monica Rambeau kind of acknowledging the kind of absence that Carol Danvers left, because obviously she was the small child in the first Captain Marvel. And Kamala Khan and her family kind of adopting more to being involved in the larger MCU. I have to say, Kamala Khan's family is the highlight of this film. There is not one scene of them that didn't make the entire cinema laugh. Genuinely, I've not been.
Are they in it a fair bit?
They are in it a fair bit, yeah. Because they end up going up to the space station with Nick Fury, and they're just kind of going, they're just doing lots of jokes, and they're kind of very much like fish out of water, and it's like, Kamala's mum going, I don't want you doing anything with that Captain Marvel. She's like, yeah, or something like that. And the whole entanglement is a bit, right, plot devicey, sure.
Okay.
Because Kamala makes sense because she has the bangle which the villain Bardine uses, okay? And the whole plot of the villain is she's going to each planet that Carol considers home and is taking a resource from it to give back to her planet. So do you remember, just for reference, I think the Guardians introduced it. They're basically like their hyperspace travels, like those hexagons in space.
Hexagons,
So she's using this bangle to open up a hexagon to steal a planet's resource. So one planet she's stealing their water, one planet she's stealing their atmosphere, and then she wants to steal the Earth's sun to bring back life to Hala. And I was sitting there going, I really like the kind of concept, but Ardeen as a villain just did not hit it. It was a real shame. She just didn't have that kind of personal attachment. It was kind of like a vendetta for her planet. It's a real shame because obviously Zoe Aston, I don't know if you've ever seen Fresh Meat. She's in that. No. She's actually married to Tom Hiddleston. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, wow.
Which I don't know if that was maybe the reason she got this role or not.
You never know. It's Hollywood.
Don't know. There's a bit of a Ewan McGregor situation going on there. But that kind of plot's great, and I thought I liked the idea of the villain's motive. I thought that was interesting.
Okay. I have a little question. Sorry, I don't mean to ruin your flow or anything, but do they do the classic MCU thing where it's like I'm with the villain? But then they do like, but now I'm going to randomly kill this baby.
Yeah.
Like they just, do something like that.
No, because I say that. There is a scene where she kind of does, there's a Skrull refugee, but she is doing this against Carol. It's more like she doesn't care who gets in her way. It's the planets that mean something to Carol. That's why she's doing it. She is kind of going on a bit of a massacre at times. But it's just the idea of the villain's kind of story makes sense, but she just doesn't kick it. I have to say, what was quite good is especially the first action sequence where the characters will keep jumping places, was very entertaining and very kind of fast paced. Where they would kind of, each time they use the powers, they may jump into somebody else's shoe, switch places. That was actually quite fun, and I actually really enjoyed it. What I had issues with is, and this is I think something that is more the wider Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
These directors do not know what are happening to their characters out with this project. Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. I am one of the sad people that did see Secret Invasions, right? Don't watch it. But if you did, you'd be like, who is this character? Because
right, okay,
that Nick Fury went through, now spoilers for Secret Invasions, went through the death of Maria Hill, went through the death of that Skrull guy, the Australian actor, I can't remember his name.
Mendelsohn, Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn went through the death of those two people who were his closest friends, right? Had a whole plot, was like, really destroyed by it, and is now cracking jokes 5 seconds into this film. I'm like, they don't know. Marvel are keeping things so secretive
proper
that they're
continuity
not,
problems. Yeah,
you're like, that's not that Nick Fury, and that kind of bugged me. Because I'm like, I sadly put time and effort into watching Secret Invasions, and I don't get a darker Nick Fury. And
I wanted to ask as well, because I actually really enjoyed the first Captain Marvel, even though it wasn't a good movie. I thought it was very enjoyable and stuff. Did they fix the whole actually giving her a personality thing?
They kind of do. So she has been kind of like regaining her memories with a kind of technique to kind of help her. She does seem to be a wee bit more bubbly, and I think this is the whole kind of her kind of learning to work with other people, because she had this. She's known as the Annihilator to the Kree because of what she did, and she takes that kind of burden on quite seriously. And that kind of, it is. I don't think it's
so kind of like a Ninth Doctor kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
but there is a slow. There is like a slow kind of personality change, which I feel is a bit not late. I feel there just wasn't any work done in Infinity War Endgame.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah.
But what my biggest issue with this film was that it clearly was the director's film and vision up until the last 20 minutes, where very clearly it was like, right, you're out. All of a sudden, these bangle portals, which were just doing that, the last one is, it's ripping a tear in the space-time continuum. And I'm like, there's seriously a moment where you go, right, that dialogue's from somebody else. Like, there is very much a cheesy moment, and it's like a sacrifice. And I'm like, the sacrifice, I'm like, that could have been something if I didn't know that was Kevin Feige kind of going, I wanted this to happen.
I need this to happen for something else.
I'm gonna kind of I want to talk about it just because I feel that I was so annoyed that what overall was a really enjoyable, fun film, at the end they just went, we're gonna kind of flip it and be like, right, so there's a tear to another dimension. I'm like, how many multiverse,
MacGuffin things show up.
You've got American Chavez, you got that, and I'm like, fuck's sake. And then it ends, and it's like, they think, spoilers, Monica has to go in and close it up with her spacey powers.
I'll put time codes here for spoilers.
Sorry. And it closes, and you've got Carol and Kamala just kind of on the Earth going, oh, what a shame. And I'm going to quickly jump on the kind of post-credit things, right? So, definitely spoilers, because one of them is genuinely, I think, one of the funniest scenes I've seen in a Marvel film in such a long time.
Oh, wow.
Where basically Kamala Khan recreates the first ever MCU end credit with Kate Bishop, where she acts like Nick Fury and almost does like line for line. She's like, Kate Bishop, did you think you're the only kid superhero out there? And it's like she's in the dark and everything, and Haley Steinfeld replies as her role as Kate Bishop from Hawkeye, and there's a really fun like rift, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna put together a team. And
like
I'm like,
Avengers kind of thing.
I'm like, or Young Avengers, and I was like, I thought that was quite funny.
That is.
That
I
was
will
good-
say,
good time.
Kamala's actress is the one thing. Like, I never finished the Miss Marvel show because I had some issues with the direction.
Yeah, I know
and,
you
like,
say,
stuff.
yeah.
But like, she was very much the highlight. Like,
She
her
was, and-
actress, she is so likable. She is so
she
like,
is so
yeah,
likable.
yeah. She
And-
manages to get some questionable writing down very well, just
I-
because of
yeah.
her personality and charisma and stuff.
I
so,
would
yeah.
honestly, from this performance, I would like see if
Mm.
they said, "Oh, she's gonna be in something else." I'm like, right, okay, I'll go see it because she is quite fun.
Okay.
But the last end credit, which really bugged me because
Mm.
this was, I just don't feel fit what the film was going for. Which is when Monica Rambeau wakes up and she sees her mum, or a version of her mum, sitting beside her, and she kind of has this freak out and going, mum, because obviously she died.
Yeah.
And then Beast walks in. Kelsey Grammer's Beast. A very CGI looking, very like the cartoon classic version of Beast. Like this isn't
Beast,
this
yeah.
isn't Kelsey Grammer with his makeup on from X3 or in Days of
And
Future
why
Past.
why recast Kelsey Grammer at all at that point?
Well, I think they were just like because he's not there. He's probably just sat in his house doing a voiceover, and they're
Yeah.
like, give him something.
Yeah, but at that point,
And-
cast anyone.
Yeah, but
Someone
we-
less
we have-
controversial would be nice.
we have him going. There was some
Yeah.
really cheesy. It's like seems you've jumped into a reality parallel to your own, and you're like, yeah, shit. How many times is this happening? And then he name drops Charles, and he's like, I'm gonna go feed back to Charles, and leaves. And there's the big X store, and then that's it.
Oh wow.
And I'm like,
Right,
I
right.
was
Like,
like,
people, don't worry, come back. We'll do in the
cares?
X-Men. Yeah,
I was like-
it's just
Just reboot the
Yeah.
X-Men, man. Like,
at
don't.
this point.
no,
guys,
I
Don't
think,
go back
I-
to the Fox
No, I
stuff.
think they will. I think they will because
they're
I think
going
with
to.
Deadpool
They're
3,
just gonna do a parallel
and,
universe one.
with the end of Loki, I think there will be these kind of things. I think that's just like a teaser of like we will revisit these
will.
guys before we reboot our own.
Yeah, the reason it's there is because obviously after Ant-Man and the disaster that was, like, there's a lot less people excited about these
Yeah.
Marvel things, and like they're
And-
trying to do what they did with Multiverse of Madness, which is like, hey, people like the X-Men, if we give them a little reason to come and watch that, maybe they'll come watch the next one just in case, like it's this whole idea of like trying to give them crumbs so people actually
Yeah.
come back.
But-
Yeah.
Well, I have one last question before you go
Yeah.
to score, Kyle. Do you need to watch Miss Marvel to fully
right.
appreciate this film?
Weirdly,
question.
you don't. Right.
Right.
I wouldn't say you needed to. You get she does like a fun kind of introduction of her character via some drawings, Kamala Khan, and you quickly kind of get the gist that she has a magical bangle given to her by her grandma, that she's got these powers. It very much goes, here's what you need to know about the character. There is this if you want to know more. Okay.
That's cool. I wish
And
they
once
did
again-
that in more movies.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau goes, because when Kara goes, how
Yeah.
did you get your powers? She went, I went from a magical witch's portal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, there you go, established it. That's
Yeah.
also there if you wanted to it. Thank God they didn't actually show Nick Fury being dark and depressing, because then they would have said, you may have to go watch Secret Invasions, which
Oh,
nobody
God,
should.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a shame that this film is going to be a flop. Sure, it doesn't have the most intriguing plot in the world. It's nice and simplistic, I say that. Overall, man, I had a fun time with this. It's going to be a 7 out of 10 for me.
Wow, that's nice. Okay.
I genuinely thought I was going to leave that theatre going, fuck, what's this? But you know,
just
Yeah.
for clarity,
enjoyed
could
it.
you mention 3 MCU movies that you think were way worse than this one? At the top of your head.
Ant-Man, Quantumania, Eternals,
Yeah.
Black Widow.
Okay, there you go. Well,
Do you want me to keep going? I probably
Anyone-
can. Dark for the Dark World.
Anyone who
I think this is better than
Thor-
the first
Thor, Love
Captain
and Thunder.
Marvel. I think
Yeah.
this is the first. This is better than the first Captain Marvel. God, Love and Thunder.
Mm.
Did I like Shang-Chi? I don't know. Right. Black
Yeah,
Panther:
yeah.
Wakanda Forever. No offense, I
Yeah.
didn't like that film.
yeah, it was bad.
But yeah, it's a fun film. If you don't want to see when it comes out on Disney Plus, give it a watch. Have it like a fun night in or something. It's not the best thing in the world, but my God, it's not as bad as what people are saying.
Okay.
Oh,
Just
well,
saying.
that's interesting because, I mean, much like whenever I thought Blue Beetle was going to be like the worst film ever because the marketing
Yeah.
was so bad
Such
for
a
that
bad
film, and I was
trailer.
pleasantly surprised by that. So,
Mm.
oh, that was terrible. Right, so thank you, Phil. That was the
Marvels.
Marvels.
The Marvels.
The Marvels. And I'm going to do a quick review for Dream Scenario. So Dream Scenario was directed by Christopher Borgley, as well as written by him as well. And it stars Nicolas Cage, of course, Lily Bird, Julian Nicholson, and Michael Cera.
Sold.
And so basically,
need to say
so
anything
there we
else.
go. Nicolas Cage, Michael Cera. All right, man. So Dream Scenario opens with this with a dream. Actually, you have Paul, who's played by Nicolas Cage. His daughter has had this dream, and she describes it one morning. It's like you've showed up in my dreams a couple times, and I'm usually in danger or something happens to me, and you usually just stand there and you don't do anything. You're just very clearly there in my dream. And he's like, oh wait, I'm not doing anything? What do you mean? I must do something. I must, remember that time I helped you out?
Yeah.
Come on, I must be protecting you. He's like, no, you just stand there. Anyway, and that sort of very much quickly describes who Paul is as a man. He's this very awkward and passive human being who's a professor at a university who teaches evolutionary biology. But then he's suddenly thrown to the spotlight when more people come up to him. His ex-girlfriend comes up to him and tells him, "You've been on my mind recently. You've been showing up in my dreams all the time." Then other people she knows, he keeps showing up in their dreams as well. And then suddenly he becomes a little bit of an online celebrity. This guy who's appearing in everyone's dreams, not doing anything, but just sort of standing there and watching. Until some things change, and that's all I'll say about that. But Dream Scenario was really funny, a great awkward comedy with a element of creepiness that I wasn't really expecting going in. I kind of thought it would just kind of be a bit more of just a drama comedy, but it has this kind of creepy horror factor to it as well, which I'll get to later. I mean, what more is there to say about Nicolas Cage? I think this is a sublime performance from him. He just has this he slips away. It's weird because obviously, I remember I was saying this about Robert De Niro a few weeks back about Killers of the Flower Moon. You have some of the status and, a star who's been around for decades now. Someone who's so over the top as Nicolas Cage. You think, oh, it's Nicolas Cage. That's all you're going to see. But no, he really does slip away into this pitiful, narcissistic, meekly mannered man, but who also manages to bring in this empathetic quality. You see this man who's sort of all this fame's happening at once, and he's sort of he was like sort of kind of at first bewildered by it, but then very quickly indulges in it and actually loves the attention because he's kind of a nobody. He's never had anything his entire life, and yet all of a sudden everyone's talking about him and he loves it. And you have this narcissistic quality to him, and yet somehow you really feel for him when things go sideways. And like I said, it's a very, very funny film. It has these great moments, and it's all usually from Nicolas Cage and just his awkward presence. He's a man who you really do cringe at, and not just in like gross out comedies or anything like that.
Yeah.
He is awkward, but really realistically awkward. Someone you feel like you've met a person like that, and you kind of cringe at how
they make you uncomfortable, but not in a malicious kind of way. No,
it's just in their being. And it has this whole story and this theme about viral fame, and kind of goes through the classic arc of people who rise and then things change and then they do something wrong perhaps, and we have that classic sort of viral fame arc with them. And like I said, the dreams over the course of the film, some of the dreams change and they become quite twisted and messed up, and then the perception of Paul changes over time, and not actually because of anything he's literally done. He's not in control of anything, but it's just about how sort of public personas shift without his any control in the matter. And I really thought that was good. It's a really good dissection of fame and how fame gets to people's heads, and also especially people who, it's not grown naturally. It's not over something that their own talents or skill gave them that fame, that is just thrust upon them by something that's not even really in their control. I think everyone does a great performance, and sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to say that no, like it sounds like it's probably talking about like the whole idea of like viral fame and like all these people that someone just happens to record and suddenly they become famous in like a day, even though it was completely out of their control, whether they wanted to or not, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Sounds really interesting.
I love this thing because Paul has this whole insecurity going on because he's a professor and he's a tenured professor. He's been there for like 15 years and yet he's never really had anything published. And he has this sort of bitterness and resentment towards colleagues or people he's known in his own life who do get published. And I just kind of... There's a great twist on that when it comes to the ending of the film, which actually has a lot more drama to it than I was expecting as well. Can be quite sad at points too. If there's really anything wrong with it for me, I think the wife character kind of gets thrown. Not really much. Like I can't even really remember her name. I mean, I think Julianne Nicholson is the actor's name, but it was like Janet. Thank you. I feel like there could have been more with her character. I really felt like a bit underused for me. I really, especially towards the meaning of it towards the end, I could have, spent more time with the, that sort of the relationship dynamics for me. And the horror stuff, I think, was creepy at points, but I kind of wanted them to go further with it. I think they could have done something a bit more with the horror elements of the film. But look, it's a solid film, really spearheaded by a fantastic Nicolas Cage performance. It's funny, has more drama than expected, and just a great sort of insight into sort of the corruption of fame and viral fame at that. And I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This is an A24 film, so go support it if you can. I had a good time. But I guess that will wrap up today's show. It's a short one today. So short and sweet. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Gonzalo, for joining me.
Oh yeah, I've added a lot to this conversation. I feel like
Hey, you asked some questions,
I did ask some questions.
That's what matters. And thank you, Kyle, as well.
You're welcome. Pleasure as always. Gonzalo, he just blew my mind this episode, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, I don't know where that came from, but wow,
I know.
Incredible.
I know. Wow, great insight into those films. But yes, on next week's episode, we are definitely doing Ridley Scott, our favourite Ridley Scott films, and we'll have a review for Anatomy of a Fall. But look, we just gave our opinions on the Marvels and Dream Scenario, but at the end of the day, those were our unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.